my name's Felix. If you guys aren't aware, I'm from Ledger, and yeah, we're going to be trying to answer some of your questions in the chat. So probably first thing that I'd mention is if you guys have any questions about your Ledger device, about any trying to manage your assets at all, you can get a hold of us here. You can drop your ticket number in the case in the chat, as you can see at least one other person has already done, and we can try to answer your questions and go from there. One thing I mention always as well is that there's always going to be a lot of scammers out there in particular. So if you guys do have anyone purporting to be Ledger or any software entity like a software wallet, hardware wallet, whatever it might be, that they're asking for your recovery phrase, please don't give it to them, and also to make sure you don't sign any transactions that you do not trust. Now, while we're having everyone come in, Yakin, I do see your case number, and I'm bringing that up now, having a look through and going through from there. So we'll see what we can do for you with regards to that. But let's get started after I do this with the first question. That comes from Sirius. They mentioned, please, when we are here in the USA, be able to use the Ledger, so the Ledger card, and we'll be able to use it like any other card, and we'll be able to withdraw cash with it, or will it only deal with cryptocurrency? So the first thing that I'd mention is just to double check if you're talking about being able to receive it, which I don't assume that's what you mean, but that if you are traveling into the US, will you be able to use it? You'd be able to use it wherever you'd be able to use the card in particular. So you can check it out at it's called CL card. So wherever you'd be able to use a card, normally you can either tap or insert the chip, then you should be able to use it at any merchant from there. So that shouldn't be something you should be worrying about with regards to location. Yeah. In terms of getting the card in particular, though, yes, it is being rolled out very slowly, I do understand. So we're just trying to make sure that the release is as best as we can while we're rolling it out. So just so you guys know. So let's pop off to the next question. Yakin, yes, I have actually assigned that to myself. We'll see if we can have a look at it for you. I do see quite a few questions popping up, but let's go through all of them. Let's just mention as a general rule, I don't know that we'll be able to mention any particulars about when certain things are going to be released. So when particular apps, when features are going to be released, I'm going to jot down everything that you guys mention. But it's not something that I'll be able to give you any timelines on, unfortunately, which I know is frustrating on your side. It would be nice to know when you might be able to get a particular feature, but I wouldn't want to get you guys' hopes up in particular. So just wanted to mention that first of all. But let's get started. Next comes from Tal Lambert. Looks like you're just answering a question here. Don't know anything about XTP or Tap Global, so make sure you guys do your research. I've never heard of this before, but I'm not saying it's a bad product or anything, but make sure you guys do your research when you guys put money in, when you guys invest, or when you guys utilize products, because they're probably going to have your especially in a card kind of situation, they might have your KYC, everything like that. So it's who knows. Now, with regards to Jesus, you've mentioned when Ledger stacks, along with Dylan Milicevic. I hopefully didn't butcher that. Wouldn't be able to say that, unfortunately. When I actually don't know an exact time frame of when personally. They don't give information like that to lowly old me, but please rest assured we're trying to work on making sure that they are going to be it's going to be as best of a release as we're going to want to be able to give you guys. So please be patient, and we'll be able to try and sort that out as best we can. Next we have Gratian G. You've mentioned you'd like to know when will we integrate Theta into Ledger. Now I'm assuming you mean Theta into Ledger Live, because you can manage Theta with the Theta web wallet. I'm actually just bringing it up now, may as well. If you're not already aware of it, I imagine you would be. It is something that you can use to manage your device, but again, with regards to when it'd be integrated into Ledger Live, I wouldn't be able to give you a solid time frame. But you can see here, you can jump in, use a ledger, you can use any particular derivation path to be able to manage the particular addresses that you might be using for Theta. So just something to keep in mind there. Now, next up, we have what have we got here? Tal, hi all, good to be here with you. Good to be here with you in particular, Tal. Gratian, you've also got another question in relation to Arweave, and when we'd integrate that. That is definitely something I'd pop into the chat. So I mean, I'd pop into my notes so that we can actually get that jotted down, and so we can see what that might be, or just to register you guys' feedback as to what you guys want. So definitely we'll keep that in mind going forward. Now, Yakin, you mentioned why is your BTC SegWit wallet not showing up when you tried to add it? I'd want to be specific, in particular, that to really get like what specific error message you're getting. Now, let's say when you're adding it into Ledger Live, let's actually go about and add it into Ledger Live right now. I've got my personal one up. Let's go here. Sometimes if it doesn't appear within Ledger Live to be able to add, you might need to actually select the other accounts to be able to add. I'll be able to get that in a second. Looks like we have a synchronization issue. I'll just check what that is in a second, but normally that's just due to issues in fetching the latest data from the blockchain or an explorer in our particular case to be able to get the latest data. Normally it's to do with networking conditions, but I'll actually have a check of that right after this as well. But just want to see if we can try to replicate what you're experiencing there, Yakin, and go from there. Now, so if you go into account, you will wait for it to synchronize, and basically it'll ask the Ledger device, hey, I need to get a public key for a particular account or particular index, right? We're gonna wait. It might take a while, especially because I am streaming at the moment. I definitely don't see SegWit here, but the most common issue that I would experience is that we just need to make sure to select SegWit. I'm assuming that you've already done that, Yakin. So if you've already done that and selected SegWit to be added, I'd be wanting to know if it doesn't come up in particular after you select to add the account, for example, something like that, or if it's not showing the balance that you might be expecting. And then after that, we might be wanting to look at what's happening with the extended public key. So those are the general things that I'd be thinking about first of all, to see what might be happening there. Now, next question, Miguel Sparta, they've mentioned when are we supporting Arbitrum on Ledger Live? Oh, that one hits close to my heart actually, because I am I use Arbitrum a lot. I use Optimism a lot. So L2s, yes, definitely something that we're looking into and wanting to support. When, I wouldn't be able to say, unfortunately, as I said before, but know that it's something that I'm definitely really anxious to get in the hands of you guys as well, because it is something that will be incredible to, I know not everyone has $5 to pay for gas fees when you're just sending some USDT. So it is something that I am seriously stoked to get out there. So know that we're really motivated to do that in particular. Tal, you mentioned, will the Ledger card be available in the UK and work with British pounds? My understanding is that it is indeed available in the UK, and I had some colleagues use it in the UK, but I'll have to double check. Let me see if I can get some documentation on the actual fiat currencies involved when you are using it in particular. Sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head. Can I use collateral, blah, blah, blah. So UK was one of the first countries to get rolled out. Yes, it's currently available in the UK and EEA, so that's European Economic Area. Let's see. Unfortunately, I can't keep everything right at the top of my head. I wish I could. But what I might suggest as well, if you need any of that, is we do have the Ledger support FAQ with regards to CL card, and also because it is an external provider, you can have a chat with them as well. If I get some time, I might just try and see if I can skim and try to find that answer for you in more particular details. But you definitely should be able to use it in the UK with your crypto as collateral while paying for that in fiat. Yes, there we go. Yeah, sorry I can be more specific, but I'll try to get that sorted for you. Now, if you raise a case with us as well, you mention my name, I can even do it via email if you prefer as well, if you want to get a real in-paper answer as well. Rama, where can I get more info on the Ledger extension? Perhaps a video would be helpful. A video would be really cool. I think actually if I just jump on, there should actually be at least something with regards to using it, but I might not be able to bring it up right now. Yes, we can always add lots more videos in terms of managing your assets with Ledger extension. I can't actually do it, make the videos, unfortunately, because I don't have a Mac device, OS X device to do so, but we'll continuously be getting those out. If I remember correctly, there definitely should be one. I'm just making sure now. Yes, there is one, how to connect the Ledger extension, how to use the Ledger extension, and it's actually with my colleague Dan. So you can just check into this channel. There'll be a video there on how to do that in particular, so you can double check that if you'd want. Now, that's hopefully that answers your question, Rama. Vidang, you've mentioned, how can you transfer XRP from Ledger to Kraken? In transferring XRP, you just be doing the same process that you would with any send procedure. I'm actually just going to bring up, you can actually go through and find it on our help center here. I'm just going to bring up this one, where you would go into the account, select the account you want to send it from, get the address from Kraken in this case, I think you've mentioned, and in some cases you might need to set a memo tag as well. That's really important because otherwise the exchange doesn't know that it's your currency in particular. You also got to make sure that the exchange supports it as well, but I'm sure that you've done that research already as well. So if they support it, no worries, you'll be able to send it normally within a memo tag, especially when you're going through to a exchange. So hopefully that helps, and you'll be able to send that through to Kraken accordingly. Now, let's keep going. Coit, by the way, is Tipsy supported. I am not aware of Tipsy. I'm aware of being Tipsy, but I'm not aware of Tipsy in particular. Not something let's have a look at CoinGecko. But let's have a look. I would, yes, let's just double check, because what I'm trying to check now is, yes, okay, it's on the Binance Smart Chain. The reason I want to check this in particular is then to know you can potentially use something like MetaMask to actually manage it in the meantime, and you can always submit that on our developer portal to get that added into the asset list in particular. So may not be something. I will just do a last check here. Yeah, it's not supported here, which is not that you can't manage it with a ledger managed address. You would just need to use a third-party wallet. MetaMask is one of the bigger ones, if you haven't heard of it, that you can use, and you'd connect your hardware wallet in particular, so you wouldn't actually import your recovery phrase, which would defeat the purpose of your hardware wallet. And in doing so, you can manage the Tipsy token from there. So just so you know. Dylan Milosevic, you did my last name justice. Oh, thank you. I'm actually Milicevic. Yeah, I said the wrong last name there too. So that's iffy. But yeah, thank you for that, at least the first time. Now, Pineapple, do we have a tutorial on all of our products? Generally speaking, yes. You can check out our channel here, and you should be able to find the videos, depending on what you're wanting to do, because some things can be quite specific as well. If you have a more specific thing that you might want to do, definitely let us know, and we'll try to give you a hand with that one, even live if we can. Gritanji, thank you for the answers. No, thank you for the questions. And A6K7RII. I'm not sure if that's acronym for something. How to sell crypto and receive money in bank accounts in the USA. The big one for that one is that you need to use a third-party service. So somewhere to exchange fiat, a crypto for fiat, or vice versa. Now, why is that? Because banks don't accept crypto into their accounts. It's not a thing, right? So you may see that, like, let's jump into market here, and you may see that something like Bitcoin may be worth, what are we at today, 27K, but it doesn't mean that you can immediately switch it. You need to use exchanges. So a big one that's come up in the news recently, Binance. Obviously, if you don't want to use Binance, you can use something like Coinbase, so you can use other potential third-party options to do so. But if you don't want to use an exchange, you can, of the ones that I mentioned, you can always use some other third-party services. uHodler is a way to get a loan on your crypto, if that's what you want to do. If you want to switch it into, normally they're listed as gift cards. There is, if I find it, Bitrefill, which I actually used for a long time to actually live off of. You can actually use it with, let's say, like groceries. You can use it to buy things on Amazon and things like that. So it's actually quite handy. I know it's not exactly what you're looking at in terms of getting cold hard cash or money, but it is something that you would need to do in the meantime. You'd need to switch between that, and to do that you'd need to use a third-party service. So normally an exchange or one of these options. Buy and sell only normally uses is related to Bitcoin in particular in terms of the sell tab of what's available. But that is something that I'm hoping that they're going to change. And look at my huge stack there. Now let's keep going. Tom Khan, I definitely remember your name, my guy. Thank you for coming along for this video as well. Teresa, you've mentioned transfer XRP to Uphold. On Uphold to a Ledger Nano wallet, what network do I select to get the wallet address to pop up? So I'm assuming you're wanting to get the wallet address from your Ledger device. So that meaning the address that your recovery phrase on your Ledger device manages. Then you would want to go through the receive process. So that means you're sending it from your Ledger from Uphold to your Ledger managed address. But if you're sending it to Uphold, I'm not sure, so I'm covering both bases. I can double check what Uphold might say, but generally speaking, they might have like a deposit section where you can get the address, as well as, especially in the case of XRP, the memo tag that you'd want to have there to make sure that they know it's your deposit as well. All right, so just something to keep in mind there. Mère Séjournaire mentions Happy Buy Day seems too good to be true. How does Ledger verify crypto partners or guarantee integrity of service? I read some not so good things about some of them. Thanks. Yes, to be honest, we've read those things. We want to read all of your feedback too. So it's definitely something that we're trying to keep track of. Happy Buy Day, yeah, I definitely tried to take it, not tried to, I definitely did take advantage and made some purchases on those days as well. How do we verify the partners in particular? We have a whole team in place that would want to liaise with them, understand what they would want, and I think especially in these kinds of situations when you're wanting to understand third-party services that you might be using. So not just us. So you'd want to verify. You'd want yourself to verify who we are, what we do, what kind of services we offer, as well as these third-party services. You can always go to the website. You can check the terms and conditions. Those are normally the things that I'd be suggesting. I'd heard of a lot of these partners in the buy and sell tab already. Coinify. Let's actually see. I'm gonna buy. Wow, it's right there. 100. Let's say 100. And I am in France. Let's just say so. And I'm paying with whatever. Doesn't matter. So I've heard of Coinify, Transact. I'd go ahead and check that in particular. How do we verify? We do our due diligence in liaising with them in particular. But yes, it can be tough in a lot of times, especially with a lot of moving targets in terms of rates, in terms of varying transaction fees. These are not necessarily always the easiest businesses to run, so it can be quite tough for them as well. But totally understand. You can always liaise with them just to check as well. But we definitely try to do the best due diligence that we can. All right, let's move on. Tal, thank you for your response note. Thank you again for your question as well. Akin, you mentioned firstly, I'm assuming this is in relation to your Segwit account, that the first that catches my attention is that I couldn't add my old BTC wallet, which is supposed to be Segwit, okay? But it wouldn't come up each time I tried. It only brings up all other empty wallets. You continued, I know you might want to say I input the wrong phrase, which didn't contain my assets, but I assure you that's not the case. No matter how long I wait, the main Segwit wallet that holds my BTC assets won't show. The longest I wait was 3 hours. I ended up closing it. I don't get to generate any save log because it won't bring. It will keep me waiting for hours with no single response, even after all the other wallets have showed up. Okay. Thinking about this in particular, definitely, I think you saw that even though it took me a little bit of time when I added the account, it still should be showing up. So if I was in your position, the first thing then would be with regards to networking, maybe where you're located, maybe also just wanting to know like what version of Ledger Live. I haven't seen the case, so you might have already provided this to one of us already. But those are the first things, especially because they had closed off some older APIs with the with older version that were specific to older versions of Ledger Live. So that could be affecting your ability as well. It's a tough one to try and diagnose because obviously you saw that it may have been a bit slow on my end, but you can still see it for myself. I think yes, it would be about networking conditions, VPNs. It would be about seeing if you can test on another computer, seeing if you test with another wallet. So you can use something like, let me just bring it up. We have that there. If you guys haven't heard of, let's say, Electrum, I think the other one is Sparrow. I'm just going to type in Electrum. No, I haven't used it in a while. Electrum, boom. Electrum would be another Bitcoin wallet that you can potentially try. is basically we're trying to troubleshoot and isolate the issue. So definitely, let's say you can instantly see it with Electrum. So remember, not to input your recovery phrase, but to plug it in and then connect your hardware wallet. We actually do have a Help Center article about this, if I remember correctly. And you can try and set it up just to see if we can see the balance. Basically, we're just trying to see if we can at least see it. If you can send it, then maybe we would be considering, what might be the issue with Ledger Live in this particular case. That's not happening for any of your other assets, for example. So that's kind of the troubleshooting steps I'll follow, Yakin. I know you already provided the case number, so we'll try to have a look at that for you going forward as well. Now, Shannon Tolson, you mentioned, does Ledger hold Terra Luna Classic? So I was doing this before, but I'm going to drop in and do it again just in case. Remember, we can just check here. You can see Luna is not supported with Ledger Live, but you can use Terra Station Wallet, I think, although if you're talking about Luna Classic, I might actually have to check one of our other documents. But generally speaking, if you have a token on a supported network, you should be able to see a lot of them. We have a lot of different tokens added into Ledger Live. Let's have a look. Let's see. Money. On Ethereum, yes, you'll be able to see it. So the specific contract for the wrapped Lunacy Ethereum was D28777. You definitely should be able to see that. Other than that, let me see if there's any other networks. I always want to be thorough. Wrapped Lunacy, so those would be that'd be the one. On Ethereum, you definitely should be able to see that in particular. If you're not though, definitely get a hold of us. We'll try to have a look at what might be happening in particular. Rama and Vidang, thank you guys for the questions again, but always feel free to get a hold of us. Support.ledger.com is here, right behind my little image here. You should be able to see a purple contact us button. I don't know, I got told that it was purple by my colleagues, so I'm colorblind, but you should be able to get a hold of us either through live chat or email and have a look from there. Now, Garrett, you've mentioned you've transferred ARB from Coinbase to your Ledger NanoX. You can't see the coins, so if you do nothing now, will Ledger eventually support Arbitrum? So I'm assuming now you mean the network as opposed to the coin, without me going through MetaMask. Yeah, I would say yes. It's something that I was saying before that we're really keen to get supported within Ledger Live in particular. I can't say necessarily when, but I'm going to be absolutely riding those guys to try and get that sorted, because I love using Arbitrum, I love using Optimism, and been playing around with ZK Sync era as well. So all things that I hope to see, because it's all in the chase. It'll also try and chase lower transaction fees at this stage for myself. So can't give you can't give you a time frame or anything like that, but it's something that I hope to see, definitely. Now, Mustafa, you mentioned, why can't you get rewards with a Polkadot stake? This is a bit of a complex question as well, but actually, one of the first articles I had gotten initially, not getting rewards, and one that I think always explains what I think better than I can, generally, is the actual Polkadot network article, right? It mentions if you're above the dynamic minimum, so that can change, and we've seen it be increase quite by quite a large amount recently. Like, have you bonded it in particular? So it wouldn't just sit there, you'd actually have to bond it. And in choosing the nominators, have you chosen more than one? Have you chosen the maximum to maximize your chance? It can take some time for you to receive it, so it can be up to 48 at least 48 hours rather. Is one of those validators active? It's definitely, in discussing with colleagues, it's not the most user-friendly process. So it can be quite complex to go through all of the potential reasons. But yes, these are probably the first things that would come to mind, Mustafa, about not receiving staking rewards. Not sure if you've already gotten a hold of us with regards to it, but the other thing we can do is, let's say, for example, we can just check on Subscan. Now, we're using a block explorer, so this is like Etherscan or Blockchair or whatever it might be. You can actually search up an address. I actually don't have an address right off the top, but if you go check your own address, you can actually see, hey, I'm not receiving rewards because I don't see a bonding transaction, for example, or when I have nominated the validators, I've only nominated 2 as opposed to 5. Or one thing that I didn't think was mentioned there is that, are any of the validators oversubscribed? Because if they are oversubscribed, you might need more than the minimum bonding amount, maybe, to actually get rewards. So it's a lot to take into account. Each individual is going to have a different experience as well. So yeah, if you go through that article, I just googled Polkadot staking rewards. Should be, oh my god, I'm typing staking rewards. I'm just going to pop it into Google first, and should be one of the ones that comes up. I can just type not getting. There we go. So it should be that one there. Secret information for all of those IT guys that are probably going to hurt me is that they do a lot of Googling as well. So yeah, you can find that one here. You should be able to have a look at that going forward. Now, let's keep going. Halfway through, so maybe I'll just mention, guys, if you have any questions, you guys are doing so anyway, please pop your questions into chat. We'll try to answer them as best we can. Now, with regards to anything to do with your recovery phrase or signing any weird transactions, please do not give out your recovery phrase or sign any weird transactions. These could compromise your assets. So just as a heads up, and yeah, keep popping those questions. We'll try to get those answered as best we can. Now, where was I up to? Ron Hart. Now, you mentioned, hi, you were listening to Dan yesterday, and he helped you know why your 24 word recovery phrase was secure. So shout out to Dan. Oh yes, thanks for giving the heads up that the volume is low. I do have it up as much as I can push it, but maybe I'll just talk louder and maybe that'll be a little bit better, Ron. So thanks for giving me the heads up there. Now, next up we have Mike. So Mike, when will the BNB blockchain be added to the ledger expansion? So I'm assuming there's a couple of typos there, but I'm assuming you mean the BNB chain being like BNB, like used to be called Binance Smart Chain, and I'm assuming you're talking about ledger extension. I have been getting a couple of the reviews coming in, and I've seen the requests to have BNB chain in particular, so definitely know that we're taking that into account. But no when at this stage, unfortunately. So try to go from there. Now, next question that I'll try to answer. Teresa, no, thank you. Yeah, give it a try. But if you do have any issues, yeah, like I mentioned, you can pop into support.ledger.com. I actually don't have it up because I closed it. Boom, like here, and yes, you'll be able to get a hold of us and go from there as well. So definitely let us know, and we'll go from there. Mo, you've mentioned, hi, can I transfer XRP from my ledger account to a friend's ledger account? You can indeed. Now, it's to say that you would send it like you would any process, like you would send any asset. boom, send crypto asset. So you go through, for example, through the send flow. Make sure you have your ledger device, because you want, with your ledger device, to sign the transaction in particular. And once you've signed the transaction, then it should be received in their account as well. Generally, you won't need things like memo tags in this case, because they would own the private keys to that account as a whole, as opposed to an exchange which might be looking for a particular memo tag to credit your account with whatever asset you sent them. So yes, just so you know. Now, so Jenna, you mentioned that you thank you often get what you pay for. With considering the circumstances, and the things that I've read as well, and we always try to read the reviews. I do understand, but yes, definitely something that I will want to pass on. And I know that there have definitely been other colleagues of mine that have been passing on that kind of feedback to you know, our managers as well. So definitely let us know. Dorian, you've mentioned you're new to using Ledger. When you got your device, the connection to the battery was bad. You had to fix it by using a bit of tape. Is this issue going to be addressed in the future? Now, generally speaking, our understanding, the understanding that, being that I'm not the one, actually going about and manufacturing them, is that the issue should be fixed. It might have been an older batch. Let's say if you got it from Amazon or something like that. I'm not saying that that is the case, but if that could have been the case, then that's what I might think could have been the issue, because it had been an issue previously, and we are trying, we're definitely making sure to fix this going forward, and have done so as far as I understand. However, if it's something, that being that you fixed it already, like, that's pretty cool actually, you went in and did it yourself. But if you do have any issues going forward, just give us a heads up. We should be able to try and liaise with you to see what we can do in terms of if we can replace the device, if we can do what we can do to get you a new one, that kind of thing as well. So yeah, pretty surprised isn't the right word, but that's pretty awesome that you went and opened it and did that. So props to you. Now I'm gonna keep going a little quicker since we're heading on to the second half. Art Dr. Bo, I think is it. If you enter the passphrase 3 times incorrectly, what will happen? What will happen is actually not something that I think is documented a lot of places, but let's say you've attached it to the pin, like you've mentioned here. You actually, the passphrase will actually not be set up on the device anymore. And why they do that is because they want to prevent someone from being able to brute force the passphrase pin. Because if you know the main pin, and then you just continue to use the passphrase, there's a potential for brute force there, even as slow as it might be. So this is done in particular so that it will wipe that connection. You'd need to go in and enter the passphrase again. So you attach it to the pin again, but then you're because of the deterministic nature of both the recovery phrase and the passphrase, it means that you will be able to get to the same accounts going forward. So shouldn't have any worries about that. Hopefully that answers this question. Now, next we've got Jay. Boom. This is the best way to learn extras about what Ledger offers. The device can be intimidating to those even just learning the blockchain, but is worth moving to securing your bank. That's really, thank you. Yeah, I'm not. It is really. There are a lot of things that it can be quite intimidating. Seeing a lot of text coming up when you're just getting this device, you spent over $100 maybe on the Ledger Nano X, and you want to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. But it is a lot of information to take in when you've just probably also taken in the information about how blockchain might work, or how ERC20 tokens work, or how each individual coin or layer 1 works, right? So it's a lot of information to take in. Best to take it slow, I agree. And learning in individual little things here and there gives you that, potential serotonin boost you might need to continue to learn and things like that. So thanks for the input there. I love that. That's great. Keen, thanks mate. I'll be looking forward to try the extension. I'll try not to put my phrase into anything. And you're a pro when it comes to crypto, so I know the ways. And thanks for pushing my case forward. Yeah, I'll be the one answering that, Yakin, so no worries about that. Try the extension out while I wait for a response from your team. From me, I'll get back to that. And thank you for being part of the family as well. That's kind of, we're wanting to make sure you can manage the assets of, in particular. Let's keep going. So I've got Rahina Kala. Hello, I have a problem that my hardware ledger is gone and forgot the phrase private key. What should I do? In that particular case, if you don't have the ledger device and you don't have the recovery phrase, there would be no way to access the funds. We don't have it. If you don't have it, there's no way to get that, unfortunately. I hate to be the bearer of bad news in this scenario, but essentially the recovery phrase is essentially the secret that you're supposed to keep in the event that you need to, that you lose the device or the device is damaged, for example. So not something that I can actually get for you. We don't have access to your accounts or anything like that in that way at all. If it's something that you need help with in terms of with the police or something like that, definitely get a hold of us. We'll try to give you a hand from there. Now, Wendy Corker, you mentioned you have a Ledger Nano S Plus. You've bought the on-the-go kit, and only one cable actually connects to the Ledger, and I need a connection to my laptop. Is there a cable that will connect to the laptop and the Ledger Nano S Plus? Depends on what laptop do you have, because I'm assuming that you, based on what you've mentioned, because I know that you have the on-the-go kit should come with the USB-C to USB-C, USB-C to USB-A, and USB-A to micro USB, if I remember correctly. Being that you've mentioned it only one connects, I would assume that your laptop only has USB-C plugs. I'm not sure, that's just a wild guess. Now you've mentioned you need a connection to my laptop. Is there a cable that will connect to the laptop and Ledger Nano S Plus? The USB-C and USB-C to USB-C cable should be the one that you're looking for. Not sure if there's something that's happening there with the cable itself, obviously we can try and give you a hand from there, but definitely something to have a look at in particular. You shouldn't, if you have like a computer with only USB-C ports, you might need to use a adapter. Sometimes they can be finicky, but that might be required in this case. Jay, you hit the like for the algo. Thank you very much. And I'm thinking, sounds like you're trying to respond to someone in particular. You sounds like you're trying to re-enter the seed phrase to regain access. I'm not sure if this was in particular to someone else or to Art Dr. B.O. or anything in particular. Now, Ron Hart said, sir, I'm not sure if you're referring to anything in particular. Line of God, you've mentioned, is it possible to hack a Ledger Nano X? I would say that it's possible to hack anything. Now, the ways that you'd want to be sure that your device hasn't been tampered with would be there is a genuine check, quote unquote, that happens every time you're managing the device and things like that. So it's something to consider there. So you can't just have like a random firmware. It would also mean, and if someone's trying to interfere physically with the device was going to reset itself, and you're not going to have the recovery phrase anymore for someone to actually get. So the recovery phrase being the specific thing that someone would need to manage your assets in particular. So I would say that while it's possible to hack anything, the crux of the question would be, are your funds safe? On the Ledger Nano X device or the Ledger Nano S Plus or the Ledger Nano S, and I would say yes, 100% they are. There's no reasonable way that I have seen that would have potentially happened in that way. So I mean, if you have had an issue with it in particular, it's definitely something we'd want to liaise with you with to try and see if we can help you out with that one in particular. Seiji, you mentioned, hi, I noticed there is a swap option in Ledger Live. Do I need to connect my Ledger Nano X if I want to internal swap between my stored crypto in custody? Now remember, your Ledger device doesn't store your crypto assets, Seiji. You would want to swap. If you're swapping, normally what you're doing is you're actually sending that cryptocurrency away. So you would indeed need to connect your Ledger device because you'd want to sign the transaction with the recovery phrase and therefore the private keys that are on your device to send it out and broadcast it to the network and say, hey, I want to send or interact with this smart contract in some examples, or send my assets to a centralized exchange to then swap it for another. So you would indeed need to connect your Ledger device. There is actually helps an article. I might be getting a bit tough on time, but Where Are My Coins is one of the articles that I always recommend. It probably explains it in better terms than I can, but generally speaking, with regards to, it's not that the keys are on the device itself, but it's the relationship between the public-private key pair that allows you to manage your assets. So hopefully that does answer your question. I may have gone a little deep there. Now, Jay, is MetaMask the only way to view coins that aren't showing up in Ledger Live after connecting MetaMask to the Ledger? You can use other options. There are ones like you can see here that I've got, but none of those are for EVM networks. I would say Tahoe is the full name, not Tally, Tahoe. Let me just type in the full one. Wallet, Tallyho would be one, Rabby would be one, and these are all extensions that you'd be able to get in your there you go, in your browser that you can use in particular. This one supports a range of networks in particular, as my understanding, as does Rabby. And it can depend if you're using Solana, might have a different wallet as well, but I know you were mentioning MetaMask, so I've specifically mentioned EVM wallets. None have as much functionality as MetaMask in my experience, but I have been quite lazy recently in sticking with MetaMask. So, Jay, I'm actually just going to read what you mentioned next. I know my chains are my coins are at the right address, as I can see it on the chain. I just haven't used MetaMask to worry about that yet. Indeed, yes. If you know that they're at the right address, and because you can see it on chain, you don't necessarily have to use MetaMask, obviously, to see it, but to actually manage it, especially with like older or weirder contracts. So, for example, if you deployed your own ERC20 token, it's not just going to appear immediately in MetaMask. You might need to add a custom token, and you can actually do that as well in MetaMask custom tokens right there. One thing to mention as well is that if you're worried about the security of it, the way it works is just like any other wallet. Is even Ledger Live, is that Ledger Live or MetaMask or Tallyho, for example, will ask the Ledger device to sign a transaction. So Ledger Live will get the raw transaction, it'll sign it with the private keys that are on the device, that stay on the device, and then send the signed transaction back, ready to be broadcast. That's essentially how it will work. I'm not sure if you already know that, but essentially that's why it wouldn't be more or less secure. In particular, it'll be the same kind of process that happens. Now, let's go on to you, Nick A. You've mentioned, hello, please pass this along. Feedback regarding USDC info section within Ledger Live. Okay. You're currently holding USDC in an ETH wallet, and when you click down, let's have a look. Where is my hot wallet? I have some USDC here. And you click on info, scroll down to info. Let's see. Info. And you mentioned after clicking info, it links to the wrong asset. It actually links to something with USD plus, and small 13 million market cap seems to be a mapping error. Where I'm thinking about info, so we'll definitely have a look at that for you. And we click asset and scroll down. I can't see. Am I tripping? Info. Might be something I might have you come to us for. If you can raise a support ticket, I'll definitely be able to use that and raise that accordingly as well. But I'll definitely keep looking for that with you, and we'll try to go from there. So that's definitely weird, Nick A. Not something that I see in particular. Jay, yep, already answered that one. Dorian, you mentioned thank you for taking the time today. Directly bought Ledger from Ledger to be safe. Thank you as well for the purchase. Definitely get a hold of us if you have any questions. I know it can be quite stressful. You know, it's money, right? Can be quite tough. Let's keep going before I run out of time, because I am 8 minutes till I have a stop here. Now let's keep going. Lazy Turtle, I think you guys are the only guys to do regular lives. Just wanted to say thanks. No, thank you, Lazy Turtle. Hopefully we're always here and love helping as much as I can, as well as my colleagues, of course. Now, Crypto McDuck, question. In the USA, Best Buy is listing Ledger stacks for purchase / pre-sale. Is this legitimate, authorized partnership? In terms of legitimate, it is something you can buy in Best Buy. So definitely not like they're unauthorized reselling or anything like that. It's definitely something we're liaising with them for. One thing also about secondary sellers is that you might be worried that they might have altered it or something like that. And considering that possibility, they have the developers have come up with a solution. When you're using the Ledger device, you actually go through a genuine check before and while you're using Ledger Live. So it is something that will be checked. It checks the hardware integrity and the software integrity of the device, so you know that what you're running with the firmware is safe indeed. So let's keep going. Wendy, you mentioned the connection problem is not to the laptop but to the Ledger end, so the wrong connection. Okay, definitely get a hold of us, because it sounds more like a hardware issue. We can see what we can do about actually replacing the device if it is indeed a hardware issue, and try to go from there. Definitely not something obviously that you're supposed to experience, but if it's a connection issue that's hardware based, nothing you can do on that end. We're not expecting you to delve in and solder it or anything. So get a hold of us, support.ledger.com, and we'll try to see if we can get a replacement out for you, Wendy. Now, my resolution is terrible here, but I think it's Bada or BD. Hi, just a quick question. Are there any limits as to what tokens or coins can be sent on the Ledger from a CoinHouse account? In terms of what's supported, you can just check what's supported on our Hub Center with regards to what shows in Ledger Live. Now, it might also depend on, because you're going to have to get the address to send it to from CoinHouse. I'm not familiar with that exchange. So let's say it's Ethereum, and you can get it through the receive flow because it's supported in Ledger Live. Let's say it's a token or a layer 1 that's not supported in Ledger Live, but it's supported with a third-party wallet. You might need to go to the third-party wallet to get the address. And last of all, if it's not supported at all, if you can't get the address for it in particular, then you might not be able to use it to get the address and therefore receive it. So it just depends on what's supported what is supported and what token you're trying to send to and from. So in terms of limits, it depends on what's supported. Generally speaking, if I'm talking about like EVM stuff, then so Ethereum EVM I keep using is Ethereum Virtual Machine. It's all the ones, generally speaking, with a 0x address. So if those are the types of addresses that you're sending to and from, you should be okay either to use Ledger Live or the third-party wallet, depending on what it is. Now, Art DRBO, you mentioned you said there would be no problem if the passphrase entered wrong 3 times. How does the device know which pin is entered wrong? Wouldn't it erase the whole device? No, it just erases the passphrase. How would it know? Because you entered the pin into the device, and it'll check against what you've set it as. So I'm not sure if it's more of a more technical question or anything like that. Harsh 1909 mentions how to get the Infinity Pass. That is something that I didn't even know I had. It's something that would be potentially given out at events. Is how I actually got my one, to be honest. So it's not a bog standard procedure. But definitely jump on the Discord if you want, and they might be able to give you a better idea from there. Now, Dr. Max, can you go over setting up Ledger Live on a new device, have a new laptop and need to manage on it? I would definitely check out the channel here. We are reaching about the end of the live here, but this channel does have how to set up Ledger Live on a new device, on a new laptop in particular, and you should be able to go from there. I think the main thing for you, Dr. Max, is just to make sure that you select that your device is already set up, and you just need to go about and add the accounts in particular. I think it's the last option. I'm just waving my mouse as if it's right there, but it'll be the third option. So hopefully, but there definitely will be a video in our channel here that you'll be able to check for as well. Cobra Kev G, you mentioned if I own crypto on a Ledger NOS, is it fine if I leave my crypto on there and not switch to another nano? No reason to switch to another nano, generally speaking. It can be quite, I know, because I have 2 Ledger NOSs, to install and uninstall apps if you are having trouble. If you're like trying to manage multiple networks worth of application assets. So it might be more of a convenience thing in particular. So we got Seiji and Jay saying thank you. No, thank you guys again. Pot Plucker mentions, can you comment of using MetaMask? Is there importance to the order that the hardware wallet is associated to MetaMask? That the hard wallet is associated to MetaMask. Importance to the order. I'm not sure if I understand the question in particular, but generally speaking, it doesn't matter in terms of the order that you connected. The only thing that's closest that I can think of that you might be mentioning is the derivation path index. So you're choosing like all the individual addresses in particular. The way Ledger Live looks at addresses is that it looks for the index that has it looks for all of the addresses if it has a transaction, then it just goes to the next one, and if it doesn't have a transaction, that's the next one you'll be able to add. So if you add the 4th index in MetaMask, you might not be able to see it in Ledger Live immediately, as well as making sure you select the Ledger Live derivation path as well. So I was a bit quick there. Hopefully that does answer your questions. A bunch of emojis from White Shadow, so hello there. Harsh 1909, I have a Ledger X and NanoS Plus, Ledger Nano X. How do I get NFT airdrops? Airdrops will depend on participations, generally speaking, so it can depend. Bright Ray Effects, I've tried so many times to connect my Ledger to MetaMask to withdraw my XDC to Ethereum. On a Ledger, I have updated the Ledger, the MetaMask Ethereum app and firmware. I would make sure I think it might be easier to use my crypto. There is let's see, for XDC, I actually think there's a specific Help Center article. My crypto XDC. see that there's a bunch here. And then we've got one here in the help center. So who was it that mentioned it? Bright Ray FX. Definitely have a look at this article in particular. My crypto XTC ledger support. You can probably Google just to get that, or search on support.ledger.com, and they should be able to guide you through doing it as well. It's it's a bit of a long process, and it does depend on the derivation path, but it does go through that in particular as well. Now, first time attending, just got the Ledger Nano S Plus. You do a great job. Thank you. You have a wonderful demeanor. I don't know if that's 100% correct, but thank you for the compliments. Dcurve Ledger Live is no longer opening full size on the screen. Is it opening at all? The first thing that I'd be mentioning there, if it's not, you should just be able to use the, what is it called, the maximize button on the top right. But obviously, if you can't see that, you should be able to use right click and shift right click, is it? Yeah, and then you should be able to move it or size it as you might need to as well. Those are probably the things that I'd be thinking of. Otherwise, if it's on another, like what happens for me personally, if it's on another screen, I'm already over time actually, my goodness, is that you would have to use some keyboard shortcuts to move it. So really quickly, thank you everyone for all the questions. I will have a look, Nick A, for the ticket for USDC, because that is definitely ones that we're going to want to help you with. Guess putting private keys into should not be done. It definitely should not be done, Pop Plucker. But yes, hopefully I answered all your questions. I do have to go, but thank you all for attending. Please don't give out your recovery phrase, and please don't sign any transactions you don't trust. Have a good day. Stay safe in the markets. Bye.